Hey, y'all. Thanks for coming out. I am so pleased to be here, and especially because I get to introduce you to someone whom I'm having the great pleasure of becoming friends with. She is a brilliant actor. She is a remarkable music artist. Please welcome my new friend, and you're going to love her so much, Minnie Driver. Have a seat, darling.
All right.
So, you look like you're having an absolutely gorgeous time doing this show.
Yeah, I love it.
What is it about this lady you like playing?
Well, you know, I was talking with friends about how everybody wants to be on cable because you get to be expanded and sort of dirty and edgy. And I think there's an awful lot of discipline to be on network television and to be funny and candid in a way that is sort of family friendly. I find that a great challenge, and I think it's interesting. I didn't do that in The Riches, but you do it in this, and there's something muscular about it and clever.
It's a different approach to performing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And now Jason Katims, who's the creator of the show, and he is one of the great writers. I think Friday Night Lights was just a superb show. And we laugh all day long. And I don't know how many jobs that you have where that is, you're sort of legitimately encouraged to have a really good time. And I've had a lot of really crap times on jobs. And, you know, in 22 years. So it's nice to go to work every day and like laugh and have a good time.
So when you first met this woman on the page, what was it about her that you thought, I connect to that, I can bring her to life in this way?
Well, it's more about seeing how it could be funny, genuinely, because she's not, she's super neurotic and...
Are you?
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm actually not. I mean, particularly for an actress, because actresses are mad for the most part. But I'm not really neurotic at all. I have other faults. But she's conflicted and weird and very awkward, and there's a lot of ground for comedy within that. And that's also a very particular British thing, to be that sort of precise and inflexible, but also be super alternative and a vegan. It's a very funny confluence of characteristics.
Do you find that you approach this program in a way that is like traditional theater? It feels like theater, even though it looks like film. There's something. It has a proscenium at times. It has perfectly measured moments.
We rehearse it like theatre, and we talk about it like theatre. So it's as close to theatre as it can be without actually being it.
But there's also something beautifully rhythmic about the piece when you're on screen. How does that come out in your collaboration with your fellow actors and with your directors?
I think everybody is really sort of on the same page, but they synthesize it slightly differently. So what comes out is interesting and not homogenized, you know?
What I find so satisfying, y'all, about Minnie Driver is that she is very musical in so many ways. As you, I'm sure, know, she's just released her third album, and it's called Ask Me to Dance. And you might hear about Minnie as an artist and think, oh, another actor who sings. But I have a feeling that you're a singer masquerading as an actor, aren't
That's
you?
Funny. Well, it's what I did before. I was a singer long before I was an actress.
How long were you a singer?
I was signed to Island Records when I was 18 in a band. We signed on the same day as Massive Attack and PM Dawn and the Cranberries. And we sort of fit these different niches. We were sort of like Massive Attack. I was like, you know, a white girl singer with 2 DJs and 2 rappers. It was properly good, I'm telling you. I found some of the tunes the other day. They're like, I got them on a cassette. I got these 2 cassettes with these tunes. They were so good. But my band, they were 19-year-old, like, total ragamuffins. I mean, absolutely no direction whatsoever. And what is interesting is that Ak, who was one of the rappers and the DJs, he just won an Academy Award for, he does all Fincher's soundtracks.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, he won for Social Network. I mean, he's like legit huge.
So
wouldn't have known that back then, I tell you. He's amazing.
So for people who need a quick bit of education, why are you acting then?
Because I was broke and I didn't have any money, and we got dropped by the label. This development deal that we had, and I was trying to get another deal, and I was sort of about to sign with EMI as a solo artist, and I went out my friend said, do you want me to take you out for dinner? And I was so bloody hungry. I was like, yes. And she was having dinner with the director, and I don't know why he saw this like skinny string bean who was kind of 21, and he went, do you want to be in a film? And I was like, how much are you paying? It was like $5,000. I was like, I'm in. What do you want me to do? And he's like, well, I need you to get fat for a start. So I did. So
that must have been fun.
Yeah.
What did you eat?
Well, my brother used to wake me up in the middle of the night and like give me Mars bars and pasta. That's how I did it.
Isn't that heaven?
It was quite hard, actually. It's quite hard.
Oh, you know what? You skinny people, shut up.
But when you... I was 21 and built like a paperclip. So I put on this weight, and it was, I think, honestly, when this is the thing I don't understand about the sort of lack of Renaissance understanding about creativity and creative people, because you do more than one thing. You have to have more than one medium. You can't always be making things out of clay or oils. You're constantly experimenting, and it was performance art to me. It was part of the music. This whole getting fat and being in this beautiful film and finding all of that. Like it was the same as writing music. It was the same as standing on a stage and performing. I didn't separate it out, but people have always boxed it up, and I never really understood it.
So does that mean then when you're performing on any level in any medium that we're seeing Minnie Driver?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't have anything else to have metabolized for you. I mean, honestly, it's all out there. I mean, there have been crazier versions of me at different times, but no, I mean, it's legitimately me.
So does that mean that the transition back to music was comfortable?
Yeah, it was a complete no-brainer, and the timing of it was easy and amazing. My Pete Yorn had been a friend of mine for years, just from around LA. I used to go and see him do all these sort of acoustic shows. I was part of a crew that always used to go and see him play at these rubbish venues in LA. And then he started blowing up, and he knew that I played and wrote, and he just said, why don't you come to South by Southwest and just open for me at some shows? And I did that, and Rounder, my label, the two guys, the managing director and the president of the company, they didn't recognize me, but they took me out for a drink afterwards and said, they wanted to sign me. It was good.
And they didn't know that it was...
No, I was sort of wearing a cowboy hat and glasses. I don't know, like reading glasses.
My goodness. Well,
it was good.
It's very good, because that must have felt like the ultimate proving ground.
Well, yeah, because people, and I do understand that the bar is set fairly low for actors singing. Musicians acting, it's much better, but there aren't that many actors who sing the kind of Americana that I wanted to play. That you can sing Broadway, I suppose, and but I don't sing that.
Well, and this is what we need to get to next, because Ask Me to Dance is your third album, and it's your first album where you haven't written all the material.
Yeah.
And the thing that distinguishes all of your albums is that I don't hear an English girl on any of these records. I certainly don't hear a girl who was part of the acid jazz new soul movement back in the 90s.
Well, that came out of the school that I went to was this really weird, amazing, progressive school in the middle of the countryside, and records would be handed down from like the 12th graders down. So when I would get a record by the band, I thought it was a recent record. Or when they'd give me, like, after the gold rush, I didn't think it, I thought it was now, or was out now. So was listening for a long time to Neil Young and Joni Mitchell and the band and Graham Parsons, thinking it was all, that was just what was happening in America at that particular time.
And what were you connecting to in those songs? When you hear, for example, and we have a cue, so we're going to ask for it, because I'm obsessed with Ask Me to Dance. If you don't have a copy, you better get one. And you need to go directly to your interpretation of the John Prine song.
Oh, thank you.
Speed at the Sound of Lonely.
I mean, again, I heard that when I was very young, and I remember working that out in the music school. It was one of the first things it's a simple song to play on the guitar. And when you start playing and singing, it spurs you on to...
Well, let's hear a little bit of it so you can get an idea of what we're talking about. It's Minnie Driver from the album Ask Me to Dance.
Thank you.
Where did you just go? You left us.
No, I was just listening. I mean, it's a bit creepy playing your music in front of people.
Oh, it's not creepy at all. Come on, girl. You got an ego like the rest of us.
Yeah, but I can do it with my family and be like, oi, right, everyone listen. But I don't know. You sort of start listening with different ears and go.
There's something so deliciously painful in your delivery of that song. Where did you?
That's the painful song. I mean, to connect with that when you're like 16, 17 years old and you've lost a love, or I don't know. I always connected with that because it's a particular kind of country that John Prine was writing. A really painful country. You know, the same thing that Emmylou Harris is writing. I mean. I think it keys into the teenage part of you without the melodrama, but with all the emotion.
When did you realize that you could do that with your voice? Because a lot of us try, right? We all listen to our favorite song, and we're singing like this because we think we're singing and sounding just like them. And then some of us discover that we have something that we can do with our voice. When did you discover that? I think
when I really started playing the guitar and singing with it, because it leads you melodically into different places when you play and you sing. And you, the only thing to gird yourself with when you're so nervous standing up in front of people and singing is your genuine connection with what you're doing. Because the minute it becomes false and you separate yourself out and you're trying to do something or sound like somebody else, you become less and less grounded. The only thing that grounds you is sort of your connection to it. So in a way, it was by the 10,000 hours that I spent standing up in front of people as a kid, because I was a bad waitress. So I did every open mic, and I played dinner jazz for years.
And so from that came writing.
Yep.
And from that, eventually we got 2 albums. And yet this album is not your writing. Why is this not your writing?
Well, I had a funny thing when I had my son. First of all, I didn't have time to do anything except have my son. And I was worried about money and like providing for him, and I was a single mum, and I was like, I've just got to work, I've got to make films, I've got to get paid, I've got to make sure everything is safe for him. Because I didn't have anyone. I don't mean that in a sad way, but I didn't have a husband to share the thing with, or financially. And my writing really suffered as a result. I was so sort of single-minded and very committed to parenting. And everything that I wrote, honestly, I mean, it's all, you're the sweetest baby. Like, it's that.
Oh, good.
I wrote a lot of songs like that I would be like, oh, dear. Oh, God.
No.
I couldn't do anything except soupy love for my baby. And that after a couple of months of that, I was like, well, sod it. I've just got to go. And I made I made all these films. I made a slew of films that they didn't mind I was kind of fat and milky in. I made this film Conviction. I made Barney's version. I went to work, which was amazing. because it set me up and made me feel good. And then I don't know what it was. It took a while. It took a while to, and in the interim, I did this record with Gary Lightbody, who's one of my best friends. So I'm in this band Tired Pony, and we did a record, and we toured that a bit, and then I'm writing with him for the next record. But this I've been promising to do this. And I really wanted to do it because it's a hard thing to do without it being karaoke. To do a covers record, it's difficult, you know. It's difficult for it not to be rubbish.
Why? What was the first song you decided to sing for this record?
Well, Master Blaster was what we did that on the last tour, actually. We played that at Soundcheck. And that was just an idea that I'd had in the middle of the night that my guitarist at that time helped me figure out, of doing it as a super moody, darker anthem.
Well, we have that queued up as well. We need to hear a little bit of Master Blaster by Minnie Driver because we need to talk about this. It's a taste of Master Blaster as interpreted by Minnie Driver. It's on the album Ask Me to Dance. Now, I told you when we were waiting to go on that to me that song is August. It's August 29th. The air feels like soup. It's hot, it's steamy, it's sexy, and then it becomes dangerous.
I love that you call it August when it comes off an album that's called Hotter Than July, which I suppose would be August.
Which would be August. But to me, it goes from very sultry and romantic
to dangerous.
To very, very dangerous.
I wonder if that's what he meant. I wonder if that's, Stevie Wonder's version, which is obviously so uniquely genius. If that was his intention, if that song came out, I feel like that record was like 79 or 80, 79. So, where you're bang up in apartheid, but nobody's really getting into it yet. You know what I mean? Mandela's still deep in jail. He's still got a long way to go. He's kind of going at the edges of it. But I love the idea of still talking about unity. I mean, it's never been more appropriate than now, politically.
There's something interesting about you being a white girl from England singing Master Blaster. Did anyone tell you don't do that?
Yeah, a few people were like, why do you want to do that? And I kind of felt like, well, I'm not going to separate myself out tribally. I don't look at it that way at all. And if someone's written music for everyone, I don't feel like I'm co-opting someone else's culture by then putting it through my own sort of heart machine and pumping out what comes out. Because I think, particularly music, it is the most unifying thing there is. Are you ever, or were you worried during any point of making this record that you were painting a target on yourself? Nah, because there's always a target on you. If you're in the public eye, it goes like this. You start feeling it. If you see that lovely Jennifer Lawrence, she's talked about it. She's sort of like waiting for the tide to turn because it invariably does. It has nothing to do with you or what you do. You just have to keep holding your line. Robert Altman said this brilliant thing once. He was talking about being an artist. He said, an artist, your trajectory is like that. And opinion, taste, critics, everything else goes like this. And at some point, you are always going to bisect it, but you can't do it all the time. And if you start trying to follow the curves, you'll lose your mind and you'll certainly lose your way. So all you can do is just go like that. So the whole notion of there being a target, yeah, it's Monday, there's a target. It's Thursday, it's gone. I mean, you sort of have to ride it out. It's revolting when it happens and it doesn't feel good, but it does stop and you just have to get on with it. When you are as famous as you are, I'm not that famous anymore. I think we would agree that you're that famous. You wouldn't be sitting here if you weren't famous, Minnie Driver. We spend a lot of time, those of us who watch you, and we're thinking, what does this mean? We're looking for clues. We're reading between the lines. I could listen to all three of your solo albums, and I can write a storyline of your life based on what I've heard.
how fair would that be? How much of a representation of your life are these 3 albums?
Oh, hugely. Hugely. I mean, that first record, Everything I've Got in My Pocket, I left the business. I moved to Hawaii. I went and lived in someone's guest house. I was pretty broke. I was sick of Hollywood. It wasn't happening. It was bad. I'd broken up with the dude I was going to get married to. It was all bad. And I didn't want to go and sit in a shrink's office, which I've got nothing against that at all, but it just didn't seem right. So I went to Hawaii and I sat on the beach and I wrote the record and I surfed and had a dog and made a lot of friendship bracelets, ate a lot of poke, drank a lot of tequila, came back, felt better, got on with it.
And then Sea Stories?
And Sea Stories was, I mean, I know you said that you think it's a sad record, and I mean, it is. There's a lot of love in it. There's a lot of love. There's a lot about the direction of love in it, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and sometimes it does. But it's about being pulled towards love, and that whole idea of Sea Stories is the whole. And I wrote it sitting on the beach outside my house. It's about being pulled by the tide of.
There's something about that record that talks to me, and I think anyone who listens to it, I think you would be reveling in the opportunity to digest and interpret. If it's about the angst. I was talking to a friend of mine today who's in the early stages of love, and she doesn't know how great she is. And I actually rolled her off a couple of songs from the CD because I had it on my desk, and I said, you need to listen to these songs because this is what you're living through. You just haven't figured it out that he's fabulous. And so are you. And so some of the songs are about love shattered, but some of it's about just how horrifying it is to be in love. Being in love is awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's only good for about 5 minutes.
No, 10.
But then I listen to Ask Me to Dance, and I think, this woman is ready to be in love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I am a bit in love at the moment, as it
Are
happens.
you?
As it happens.
Well, we're just talking. We're just friends amongst ourselves. Be free. Feel free to talk.
No, you know. I mean, like, just like anybody. Like, it's horrifying.
Is
and
he
it's
cute?
Great. Yeah, of course he's
Got
cute.
a job?
He's got a job. He would say he doesn't have a job. He has a job.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I've known him a very long time.
Good. Ah.
Yeah, my dad always said, everyone you'll ever love is already in your address book.
Does Mom approve?
Yeah. Oh, Larry.
Are we loving making Minnie squirm a little bit? She didn't know I was going to do this to her. So what song won't... Let's get back to the record, because the clues are in the record. What won't you sing?
What won't I sing?
What won't you sing?
What do you mean? When?
What song would you not sing on this record?
Oh.
What song do you think I would never touch that with a barge pole?
Well, do you know what's funny? I tried because I had to have a go, but I couldn't. Was Jesus Etc. by Wilco, and then I heard Norah Jones do it, and that really pissed me off. I was like, it was a pretty good version. It was a good version, but I didn't. It's a seminal song for me. I'm not entirely sure why, but Wilco is a seminal band sort of in my life. But I also tried to sing I Ain't Blue by Bonnie Raitt, which is, again, probably top 5 songs. And if you haven't heard it, I strongly recommend. She was like 18 when she made this record, and it's like they recorded it to tape in a barn, like in a commune, one summer, and you can hear all of that in this. And it's, for this 18, 19-year-old, he'd be talking about just being hot for guys. And
it's a good song.
It's a beautiful song.
So when will you take a year and get in a van or a bus and tour the country? Because I feel like you are in need of that.
I think it's going to be in the, God willing, we get picked up for another season. It'll be in the hiatus next, which is sort of between... We finish in March. You find out if you get picked up in May. Between then and July, August, when we start up again.
Because you're aching to do it, aren't you?
Yeah. So I really, really, really want to do it.
I think the thing that I first found so connective about you is the wanderlust in your music. You see wide open spaces when you sing, don't you?
Yeah, and that's really all. That's what it came from, and what it continues to come from, and it is amazing. I'd love to throw my son in the bus and the dude and the band and just.
I was going to say,
get on the road.
well, is he going to come with you?
Well, you know, probably not. I mean, probably for sort of like 4 or 5 days. I don't know. I don't subject anybody else to the bus.
It's just, isn't it the most romantic idea? It's like, I think every rock and roll heart's dream.
Yep.
To just be out there.
It's pretty amazing when they're in the audience and then you're singing particular songs. That's pretty. There's a song I wrote called Beloved on Sea Stories, and when I wrote it, it was sort of aching to be in love, and I wrote this. It's a really lovely love song, but it wasn't for anybody, and it's funny when you catch up with who it's for, and it sort of makes sense later. I wrote it and put it in escrow.
Psychic.
Psychotic.
So the album we're talking about is called Ask Me to Dance. And actually, do we have time? We have time to let you all ask some questions. Do you have some questions for Minnie Driver?
It's actually a statement. I just wanted to say that I've always adored you, and I adore you even more now. And to be honest, I had no idea that you sang, and you have an incredible voice. And I'm definitely going to get the album. And
thank you.
Actually, I love all the artists that you've listened to. They're all my favorites.
Oh, good.
So
Thank
thank
you.
you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Can I just jump in for 1 second? Don't you love when someone says, I didn't know you can sing, and then they become a believer?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
I mean,
great.
what does that feel like to you
It's great.
as a singer?
It feels really good. It also feels weird because I'm still 22 years later not used to people thinking of me an actress and not a singer. But I love that discovery. That's great. Yeah. Thank you. Cheers.
Oh, how cute is he?
Are you friends with Will from About a Boy, like outside of the show?
Do you know what I am? He is, David Walton is his name, and he's one of the nicest, funniest people you'll ever meet, and everybody wants to be his friend. So I sort of have to get in line to be David's friend. He is great. And my son is also very good friends with Ben, who plays Marcus on the show as well.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm curious to know, at the points when you were down in your acting career and stuff like that, and just your music, is there anyone that inspires you in particularly to keep going and keep, pushing forward and pushing through all those tough times? Or is there anything that you've done to where you just felt inspired or inclined to just come back and do it again? Or, what drives you? What drives Minnie Driver?
It's always, it's usually people, or it's usually people who give you a book, and then you read the book. There was, when I was really sad and broke and didn't know what to do, my friend Kelly actually bought me a plane ticket to go to Hawaii and said, you go, and then he hooked me up with his friends whose guest house I lived in. There have been people who have physically done stuff. And then there are people who, like my friend Alexandra Valenti, she took all of the photographs, and all of the artwork in the record is so beautiful. She paints on photographs, and she lives in Austin. She has been a constant source of support and love. And funny enough, when stuff was really hard as well, both Dustin Hoffman and Robin were always very, very, very clear about why you need to keep doing something if you love it, even if it's not going well. I think you have to look in your life for those people, because I think they're there, but you have to be available to hear them when they tell you those things. That's as much a part of it, to let it in.
I love the fact that you did Waltz Number 2 by Elliott Smith. The song is amazing. I guess, so what other Elliott Smith songs do you like and maybe relate to?
Oh, wow. So Elliot was a friend of mine. Elliot did all the music for Good Will Hunting, and we became friends after that. And we used to go out. He used to take me to all these places in LA that I didn't know that played live music. And when he played Spaceland and all of these he used to play these small clubs in LA, and they'd be packed. And it's when you could still do that and have these shows, and the fire marshals would show up, but it would be too late, and everyone would sort of be packed in. And I was going out with a drummer at the time who was working at Sunset Sound, and they were tracking drums, which is very, very boring. It's a terrible, boring thing that goes on for hours and gives you a headache. So I knew Elliot was recording XO there, and I wandered off down the hallways. And when I walked into the studio, he was stacking vocals for Waltz Number 2. And it was like a wall of sound when I walked in. And he used to stand behind the desk, and he was, everyone knows he wasn't happy. He wasn't a happy person, I guess. But he was happy then. And he was ignited then. And the whole of XO, I love Figure 8 too, but XO is an incredibly special record for me. And he used to get pissed off when people co-opted there'd always be these kids coming up at the end of shows who were, even if they were like crying, going, you wrote that song for me, like that's my voice, man. And he'd be like, no, that is my pain. That is not your pain. That is my, he was cool. We saw Ricky Lee Jones play one time, which is kind of where I had part of the idea for Fly Me to the Moon, because she used to do these weird French songs just with an upright bass. And it could go really bad really quickly, and then she'd bring it back. And he always loved that. He loved the stuff that was difficult and hard and didn't work all the time. But when it did, it was just amazing. Yeah.
This is a question about your acting career, Minnie. So, Tarzan, how did you develop the voice for Jane? Did you ever meet John Lasseter? And what was it like working with at the Disney studio?
Well, I got the job for Tarzan before I was well known at all. And then by the time the film came out, because it took 4 years to make Tarzan, because it was back before everything was done digitally, it was amazing. Yes, I met John, and I'm actually doing another film for Disney Pixar right now called Zootopia, which is going to be fantastic. I play a very evil pig. Zootopia, yeah, check it out. If you Google it, they'll give you the story. It'll tell you all about it.
Is it just remarkable to you that you get to dabble in all the various things that you love to do?
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's such an obvious, I don't mean to ask such a leading question, but so many of us ache to do what we love, and so many of us don't. What does it feel like to know that you're going to get to do what you love?
Well, when you get older, you feel grateful. When you're younger, there's so much hubris, and you think it's sort of natural, and it falls a bit by the wayside. But if you're lucky enough to still be around later in your life, you feel very, very grateful for it, and I think appreciate it a lot more.
We watched Good Will Hunting again not too long ago, and I don't recall whether you had, and I think the answer is no, direct scenes with Robin Williams?
No.
Were you together at all in the filming, or was that done at separate times? And
yeah, because we were all in Boston together. We were all sort of living together. Not me and Robin, but I was there, and I would go to the set when Matt and Robin had scenes because it was so amazing to watch. And he was a really amazing person. He was happiest in front of people, making them laugh, and he was great. He really was. I miss him a lot.
Hi, Minnie.
Hi.
I think you're much more beautiful in person.
Oh yeah, I'm a right dog on screen. Yeah. I'm kidding. I love it when people say that. My mum, I usually get.
Seriously.
God, you're much slimmer in person. I'm like, what? Do I look fat on the telly?
No, I think that was a compliment.
I totally take it as a compliment, 100%.
You have such a strong spirit and voice. Do you ever consider speaking out on world issues or causes to impact the world?
Do you know what? I've worked with this aid organization called Oxfam, which is the oldest aid organization in Great Britain, and now they're in 127 countries in the world. And I've been an ambassador for them for quite a long time, and I've been to Southeast Asia, mostly speaking out about women's rights, women's labor rights. The women in Southeast Asia are often who work in the garment industry, work in the sex industry as well. And I've been to Cambodia with them, and Vietnam, and Laos, and I continue to do whatever they ask me to. But I've also been to Washington speaking about arts and education for the Creative Coalition, which is sort of like the politicized branch of my profession. They're amazing. So yeah, sort of like arts for kids and women. That's my jam. But I'll talk about anything you like.
Well, Minnie, thank you for letting us get to know you a little bit better.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
The program on NBC Tuesday nights is called About a Boy. Of course, you're going to watch it. And the album is called Ask Me to Dance.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it very much.